Feminism is what we say it is. And we say that feminism is the problem. Putting the conversation where it needs to be, this is the Vanguard Report. Hello world, it's that time again. Welcome to episode number 16 of the Vanguard Report, your weekly internet radio show where we talk about nothing but feminism and nothing but what is at the vanguard of that issue. Hence our name, the Vanguard Report. Every revolution needs a vanguard. What the hell, even Lenin knew that. And the non-feminist revolution is no exception. It too needs a vanguard, a cadre, a hardcore of experts with a cutting-edge analysis. And friends, that is us. We are the experts. We are the organic intellectuals, as Antonio Gramsci would say. This is the tip of the edge, folks. And if you want to know where it's at and where it's going, then congratulations. You have come to the right place. Remember that on the Vanguard Report, we entertain three main questions, and everything we talk about revolves around those questions. 1, what is feminism? 2, where do we stand? 3, what is to be done? And something else, we take revolution seriously. Seriously. We seriously want to do feminism some damage. We want to let the oil out of feminism's crankcase. Boy, that sounds non-violent now, doesn't it? And we know that there are 1,000 ways to make this happen. On this program, we share serious information and concepts, and sometimes we even propose actions. But mostly we just, well, to put it in a nutshell, we spread ideas. We're all about the spread of ideas. So, take notes, but don't just sit there and say, hey, that's cool, or hey, that's interesting, and then promptly forget about it. No, please don't waste our time or yours. Take on board what we are saying here and start putting it to work. Seriously. If you buy a new tool and you throw it in your tool drawer and there it sits forever, then it's absolutely no freaking use to anybody, is it? All right. I am your host, Fiedelbogen. And with me, as always, is my fellow host, Nick Redding, former social justice warrior, counter-feminist agitator general for the city of Edmonton, and a true son of the Alberta prairie, who hikes for miles and miles through the wheat fields, rocking a sandwich board and a John Deere baseball cap. Nick, speak to the people of the non-feminist sector.
Hey everyone, it's Nick Redding from Men's Rights Edmonton here. I want to remind everyone that there's going to be, Men's Rights Edmonton is going to have a presence at this year's Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event in Sir Winston Churchill Square at on September 23rd at 11 a.m. between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So I would like everybody, if you're in the Edmonton area, sorry, I'm tripping all over my tongue right now. If you're in the Edmonton area on September 23rd and you want to help out, just go down there with a camera. Please don't interact with anyone. Be very passive and just film what happens at this year's Walk a Mile event. And there's a video all about it on Karen Straughn's video channel or YouTube channel.
I recommend that video.
Yeah, it's called Big Plans for Walk a Mile 2013. So please go there, watch the video, Share the video on social media. Disseminate far and wide that Men's Rights Edmonton is going to be there at Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, Sir Winston Churchill Square, September 23rd, 1 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yes. Yes, that will be in Sir Winston Churchill Square in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I am sure that Sir Winston Churchill would be proud. I can hear him saying, "This is non-feminism's finest hour." And, as usual, I want everybody to go to cfproject.blog.com. Please don't write blogspot. That won't do you any good. It is blog.com. Once again, CF Project, one word, cfproject.blog.com. There you will find the Poison Manifesto, both for online reading and for download as a PDF file to read offline and to share with anybody who might be interested. On the last episode, episode 15, I read the entire thing out over the air due to a glitch. The script for that episode got trashed due to file corruption. Was not able to read it. I had to come up with something fast, so I said, let's read the Poison Manifesto. Anyway, this week we are presenting you the show that we would have presented last week, largely reconstructed from memory and notes. All right. As usual, well, as common, we shall throw a couple of web links at you and talk about them. First item, about a year ago, Sky One TV in England ran a 6-episode television series, a comedy by the name of Chickens. Storyline concerns 3 young men who will not enlist to fight in the First World War, and the harassment they get from local women on account of their supposed cowardice. As you may know, this was the era of the White Feather Campaign, a collusion between the early feminists and big male patriarchal leaders such as Lord Kitchener and Admiral Fitzgerald. The campaign consisted of women patrolling the streets and handing white feathers to young men who were not in uniform. The white feather, you see, was a sign of cowardice. And the White Feather Campaign took place in the heyday of the White Knight, when the average young bloke abjectly sought the approval of women. To not have the approval of women back in those days especially was crushing. But the occasional fellow packed a mite more spirit. Here is a story from actual history, the case of Private Ernest Atkins on leave from the Western Front. He was riding a tram one day when he was presented with a white feather by a girl sitting behind him. He smacked her across the face with his paybook, saying, "Certainly I'll take your feather back to the boys at Passchendaele. I'm in civvies because people think my uniform might be lousy. But if I had it on, I wouldn't be half as lousy as you." Uh-oh. Violence against women, that's pretty bad stuff.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think people would have thought about that back then? I mean, would that have been as frowned upon as it is now?
I wish we could get Ernest Belford Bax in here to weigh in on that subject. I'm sure whatever he might have to say would be interesting. The more things change, the more they stay the same. There's nothing new under the sun. So on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it seems that the White Feather Campaign was only the tip of the iceberg. Women everywhere found ways to harass men who didn't go off to war. And the British comedy show Chickens strip mines its humor from all of that. No, I'm not saying that all English women did that during the Great World War. No. Nawalt. So, I will link you to an excellent article at Inside Man, a pro-male online journal in England, where the author takes a dim view of this. James, that would be cue number 1.
Yep.
I've got to say that the author of that article is on the right side, politically speaking. And by that I mean the male-friendly side as opposed to the male-unfriendly side. And I will link you also to a video sample of the Chickens program on YouTube, and you will enjoy it. James, that is cue number 2. Anyway, I left a comment on the article we're talking about and got a response from the author. Here is my comment. The humor in this, quote, comedy might simply be written off as tasteless were it not for the present-day political context. Considering the treatment which men as a political sex class are now receiving, this comes across as appallingly unfunny irony. One is surprised that the show's creators even had the gall to let it see the light of day. However, if there is a silver lining to all of this, it would be that a shameful period of history is getting disinterred and set before the collective memory again. So this might have a political fallout which the show's creators never anticipated. And the author of the article replied in the following terms. That is an interesting point. In a way, the program has unwittingly provoked an opportunity to have a critical discussion about the issues that would have been more difficult had it not been made. Thanks. Well, we are in the centennial here, marking the outbreak of World War I, the great bloodbath to end all bloodbath. So I reckon that all things World War I should be quite the vogue right about now. The TV show Chickens certainly brings history to life again, but with its generally demeaning portrayal of the male protagonists and its morally uncritical depiction of the female characters who antagonize them, I must say that it does men no favors at all. But if it brings the whole white feather era back onto the table of collective cultural awareness, then it might do some good service after all. So, while we are on the subject of war and the sexes, how can I neglect to recall the immortal words of Hillary Clinton? I say immortal because those words will never die. Yes, we will see to it. We will make sure that Hillary and the world at large never hears the last of these words. Won't we? During a speech in El Salvador in 1998, Hillary Clinton said, and I quote, "Women have always been the primary victims of war. Women lose their husbands, their fathers, their sons in combat. Women often have to flee from the only homes they have ever known. Women are often the refugees from conflict and sometimes, more frequently in today's warfare, victims. Women are often left with the responsibility alone of raising the children." Yes, I can certainly empathize with that woman in England or France or Germany who was left alone with the children while her husband faced barbed wire and machine gun bullets thick as hail, vomited his lungs out from mustard gas, waited for a mortar shell that would atomize him instantly if he was lucky or explode into shrapnel and tear his face off if he wasn't, sat in the trenches in the mud, his feet rotting from trench foot, his uniform crawling with lice, amongst the mangled corpses of his friends while rats swarmed in their thousands and feasted on the rotting flesh. Ah, war. A pleasure, like all pleasures, rather dear. So clearly, the wife back home was the primary victim. Thank you ever so much, Hillary Clinton, for setting us straight about that. By the way, Hillary Clinton's words don't get any better when you read them in context. I would even say they get worse. All right, so much for that. Next, I want to introduce a new phrase to your vocabulary: rape blackmail. And yes, rape blackmail is just what you think it is. It is just what it sounds like. It's where a woman blackmails a man by threatening him with a false accusation of rape. Look for a link in the chat window. This is cue number 3, that would have to be. The link will take you to an article in the Essex Chronicle in the UK. The title of the article is "Rape-Accused Chelmsford Tube Worker Wesley Isilajor Acquitted of All Charges." And I will read most of the article to you. A London underground worker blackmailed by a woman with sexual abuse allegations has today been cleared of rape. Wesley Isilajor, 50, of Billavani Close, Chelmsford, has been acquitted of 8 counts of sexual abuse of a girl between 12 and 16 years old. The Chelmsford Crown Court jury of 10 women and 2 men returned their verdict in less than 2 hours following the 4-day trial. Speaking after his acquittal, the father of 3 said he was looking forward to getting some sleep and returning to work on Monday after a hellish year. All the allegations were completely false, said the Nigerian expat. I just want to say thank you to the jury. They've seen through the lies that she put to them. Apart from that, that's all I can really say. I just want to go home now. I haven't slept. I haven't eaten properly. Maybe I will just sleep and forget all of this. That's all I can say. Mr. Esilojor claimed the woman, who cannot be named for legal reasons, ambushed him with allegations trying to extract money from him. Indeed, Prosecutor David Wilson told the court on Monday how the woman last year sent a text message to Mr. Esilojor threatening to tell police and her family that he raped her as a child if he did not pay her £5,000. What is that in US dollars? Maybe 10,000? I don't know. Mr. Esilojor immediately showed the message to police, prompting an investigation and his arrest. Ooh, that's rich. He showed the message to the police, and then they turned around and arrested him. Very telling detail there. When the woman gave evidence behind a screen on Tuesday, she said she did not report the offenses as a child, a period when she considered suicide, as no one would believe her. Well, I don't know if I'm inclined to believe her now. Today is the hardest thing I've ever done. I've got no reason to lie. Why would I make it up, she said, before she broke down in tears. Well, some people are good at that. Defending barrister Charlotte Newell, however, continued to pour scorn over her evidence, calling her a compulsive liar. Charlotte Newell, that's a woman defending the accused man against another woman. Well, I like that. Mr. Esilojor also told the Chronicle, when she sent the message demanding £5,000 by Friday, oh, he better scramble to get that by Friday, saying she would tell her mother, her father, her brother, her aunt if I did not give it to her, I thought, I have to go to the police or she will continue doing what she wanted. All right. I was angry, really angry, and in my mind I thought I have just got to go to the police straight away, which he did. Family and friends attended court each day to support Mr. Esilojor, including his brother Peter Wog, who claimed the entire investigation has wasted time and money in court. I'm very grateful to them. They have been very supportive, said Mr. Esilojor. Esilojor had been accused of 4 counts of indecent assault, 1 count of indecency with children, and 1 count of rape. Wow, that's a lot on his plate there, isn't it? All right, we are not suggesting that all women would do what this woman did, because we know that not all women are like that. We know this, but of course we have to keep repeating it, don't we? We know that not all women are like this. It goes without saying, even though I'm saying it.
Yeah, but there's another one going around, Ewald. So enough women are like that. There are some, and women do lie about rape, just like everybody lies about stuff. And those who do it quite a bit. I think it's safe to say, well, maybe 1 in 100, or one woman in 100 would do this, and that's all it takes to create a serious problem. So, for example, if you live in a city of 10,000 and there are at least 100 women walking around who would falsely say that you raped them if it served their interests. That's a very conservative estimate, because I don't want anybody calling me a misogynist.
Nick, maybe you better water it down to 1 in 1,000 and you might get away. Anyway, the big takeaway point here is the role which feminism plays in all of this. The purpose of feminism is to set you up so as to maximize the odds that you will fall prey to such women, and also to maximize the opportunities that such women will have to prey upon you. That's what feminism does. This is just one of many ways that feminism empowers women. In this manner, women are empowered both by what they can potentially do to you and by what they will have done to you after the fact. They will have destroyed your life, and a man whose life has been destroyed is a man who has been stripped of a lot of power, believe me. Rape blackmail is just another twist on the theme of empowering women by giving them the power to destroy men. This is what feminism promotes and strives for, among other things. Next, here is another case of a woman committing rape blackmail, this time in far-off Zimbabwe. Boy, that's quite a ways from England. The story is from Bulawayo 24 News in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. Look for the link in the chat window. James, that would be the next cue on the list. 4, I believe. The title of the article is Women Luring Rich Men into Bed Before Accusing Them of Rape to Extort Cash. Sounds like a soap opera, doesn't it? And the article follows. Some women are reportedly luring rich men into bed before accusing them of rape to extort cash and other valuables from them, a Harare magistrate heard yesterday. Harare lawyer Mr. Dumasani Mthombeni of B. Matanga Intellectual Property Attorneys told the court that such women demanded up to US $5,000 or vehicles from their victims. I wonder would that vehicle be an SUV or a Maserati? Mr. Mthombeni made these remarks while defending his client, Kawaja Hisham, age 32, who was accused of raping Silathembu Ndlovu. Ndlovu had her rape claim quashed by regional magistrate Mr. Noel Mupaiwa and is likely to be charged for making a false report. In acquitting Hisham, Mr. Mupaiwa ordered the state to investigate the report that was made by Ndlovu with a view to charging her with making a false report. The complainant lied to the police that she was aged 19, and yet in court she stated that she is aged 21. She also lied to the court that she knew nothing about the photos and video which were retrieved by an IT expert from the accused's phone, which she was walking around, in which she was walking around naked in his house. It is clear that she lied when she made the report against the accused. This is one of the cases where it is clear to the court that complainant deliberately made a false report to the police. The court recommends that complainant be investigated for making a false report with a view to charging her with making a false report, he said. In his defense, Hashim, through his lawyer, denied the allegations. And the article goes on to describe the minutiae of this particular case, but I will skip over that. So, there we have it, folks. 2 stories from vastly different parts of the world about the empowerment of women and the war on men. That's right, the war on men. I said it. It's all part of the war on men. Whether this war is conducted deliberately with malice aforethought, or whether it is just happening, whether damaging things are happening to men and nobody is doing anything about it or saying anything about it or telling you to shut up and stop whining if you draw attention to it, whatever combination we have going on there, it's all part of the war on men. Yes, this is global. It's everywhere. And with the continued growth of anti-male bias, that's a key word, a key term right there, anti-male bias. It's not quite the same thing as misandry, but there's a vast intersection between those two things. The growth of anti-male bias in the criminal justice system, it's only the beginning. And on that note, I think we're pretty close to the halfway mark in the program. I'm in the mood for some music. James, let it roll. So far, so good with that. there?
Yep.
Anything we need to talk about while we can talk?
Don't think so.
Okay. Welcome back from the music break. This is episode 16 of the Vanguard Report. I am your host, Fiedelbogen, and I am with my fellow host, Nick Redding, a true son of the Alberta Prairie. We have come to the more philosophical part of the program. Tonight, let's talk about collectivism and feminism and how those two things fit together, like two snakes wrapping around each other. Feminism is a collectivist ideology. That is why feminists are unconcerned about the suffering of male individuals. Now, the feminists have a little saying which they are fond of repeating. You might have heard it. It goes like this. Sure, men can suffer, but they cannot be oppressed. Okay, pay attention to that. There is a thing called suffering, and then there is a thing called oppression. Now, some feminists will deny that feminism says this, but that's how feminism works Anything which is momentarily inconvenient will be disavowed until it becomes convenient again, so that feminism can always slip out of its skin like a snake and slither away to safety and return later to get the skin back again. But when they say that men can suffer but they cannot be oppressed, they are voicing the radical feminist analysis. That's right, this is radical feminism, the radical feminist analysis which sees men as a political sex class, which is structurally advantaged over women. Roughly speaking, structurally means institutionally. First and foremost, feminism sees women as a political sex class, but this willy-nilly makes men a political sex class also, by default. Most men still don't realize that they are a political sex class, but that's a story for another day. The takeaway point right now is that feminism treats women as a political collective in order to extract advantage for women. Feminism also treats men as a political sex class, but only in order to put the screws to them. As a case in point, let us consider the crime of rape. Feminism has a lot to say about rape, don't you agree? So it makes a good example for illustration. Okay, I have a modest proposal that would save a lot of time and taxpayer money, and it would make the feminists very, very happy.
Yeah, why don't we eliminate all police work and all criminal justice procedure from the rape question by simply holding a lottery? You know, every male above a certain age would have his name thrown into the lottery pool, and once a year, a certain number would be drawn from this pool. And the lucky winners would be charged with rape sight unseen and dispatched straight away to the penitentiary for a set number of years. And there'd be no appeal.
There would be no appeal. The system of rape prosecution that we've presently got is morally indistinguishable from the lottery system that we have described here. And if certain legal innovations go through, if certain people get their way, this will become even more the case. You know, like reversing the burden of proof. You go in there and you got to prove that you didn't rape her. She doesn't have to prove that you raped her. You know, presumption of innocence, little technicalities like that. Lowering the standard of evidence, well, that's what they do. They lower the standard of evidence. That's the main thing that they've done to make this a meat grinder for men. Lowering the standard of evidence weaves the net tighter, giving it a smaller mesh. Reversing the burden of proof, if instituted, will augment this effect. These factors can generate more guilty verdicts, hence more convictions, but they can do nothing to differentiate the guilty from the innocent. In fact, the system is not meant to assay guilt or innocence. It is meant to get convictions in conformity to feminism's judicial worldview. And feminism's judicial worldview is collectivistic. Women as a class have been violated by men as a class. Such is the feminist narrative. Therefore, men as a class must pay the penalty as a class. This means that a certain percentage of the class men must be sacrificed to meet the requirements of feminist justice. And it doesn't matter who these men actually are or what they have actually done. Male blood is what's wanted, and men being collectively guilty, this may flow in an undifferentiated river from any or all male sources, irrespectively. Such is feminism's judicial worldview, and such is the world that feminism will ultimately create if it gets its way. Individual feminists will, of course, deny this. That's what they always do. That's the snake slithering out of its skin again.
Retribution for collective male guilt is feminism's shadow subject, meaning that it stays in the shade. So as you might expect, only a few brash individuals at unguarded moments will admit what's actually happening. In most rape cases, the lack of third witness corroboration or conclusive forensic evidence makes it well nigh impossible to ascertain guilt or innocence with any certainty. So the practice is to railroad the defendant. All the same, a charade of justice must be kept in its place, and so the rape lottery is dressed in black robes and procedural thrills.
And that is why the only thing which matters is the existential life situation of the innocent defendant. He is not men in the abstract. He is a singular person who happens to be male. He has done no crime, but he is marked for destruction. His well-being is of interest to me because his case could be my own or that of any other man. We did not choose to be male, but under the circumstances, we can hardly ignore that, can we? At least if we have any concern for our self-preservation.
No, a feminist does not care about the suffering of men. As the saying goes, sure, men can suffer, but they cannot be oppressed. In other words, your suffering is of no account to a feminist because you are not oppressed. And the distinction between suffering and oppression is, I have been assured, critical. So the innocent rape defendant is not oppressed when he is railroaded into prison. Got that? But consistent with feminist dictum, I am permitted to say that he suffers. And since the feminists do not care about this innocent man suffering, then I reckon he must take up the slack. In fact, I must pull double duty along that line and rebudget my capacity for caring by redistributing it away from focal points where it might otherwise be applied. And otherwise, I shall care freely. And by freely, I mean free of what feminism says.
To those who insist on making things complicated, consider that it does not matter to the innocent rape defendant how many rapes go unreported. Nor does it matter how many women get raped in their lifetimes. That information has no bearing at all upon the facts of his particular case. None. Whether it be 10 unreported rapes per year or 10,000 sheds no light whatever upon his own guilt or innocence in the matter under consideration. None. And whether 10 women get raped during their lifetimes or all of them do, similarly sheds no light. None. Given that the feminist mind, imbued with a collectivistic worldview that seeks retribution, such apparently peripheral data hold a key importance. But to anybody else, such data are, as said, peripheral. Yes, men are collectively guilty of rape. Men are collectively guilty of domestic violence. Men are collectively guilty of war. Men are collectively guilty of not only every bad thing that is done to women or to any individual woman, but pretty near every bad thing that happens on this earth ever at any time. This is the gospel that feminism is preaching and wants to instill in the minds of everybody. And it is upon this particular gospel that feminism would build its own millennial society, its utopia, its world of equality and justice. Men are collectively guilty, which means that you, as a man, whoever you are, doesn't matter what you've done, you're just guilty because you are part of the political sex class men. You are part of class male, and as such, you are guilty. And retribution for collective guilt can be or must be waged collectively. So pick a number. It doesn't matter what you've actually done. If you're male, you'll get punished. It's like the old practice which they had in the Roman legions of decimation. When they wanted to discipline the soldiers, they would go through the ranks and kill every 10th man, no matter who he was. They would just count down the line, and if your number was up, that's it, off with your head. And it would instill rank terror into the ranks. they would learn to think collectively, learn to think as a corporate body, and then they would learn to police each other right quick if nobody wanted to be that 10th man. Well, that's the kind of justice that feminism wants to inflict upon the male population. You think I'm being melodramatic? Well, okay, a little bit. The only reason I sound melodramatic is because it isn't literally as bad as I am describing it, at least not yet. It is in principle just as bad as I am describing it. The practice has not yet been honed to such a sharp edge. You haven't felt the sword on your neck yet. But basically, that's it. Feminism operates under the model of man bad, woman good. And yes, it is a hate movement driven by hatred of men, or at least disaffection toward men and all things male. This is the force that drives feminism at its core. Everything feminism does is based upon treating men as a collective and also treating women as a collective. Benefits are bestowed upon women collectively, unless, of course, a woman happens to be an individual, say, for example, in a rape case or a domestic violence accusation, then that woman is collectively presumed to be an innocent dove, and the man is presumed to be the guilty party, at least as much as they can make that happen. That is how feminism rolls. And, well, you know, that is why feminism is rotten, and that is why you, if you are a man, ought to be against feminism. If you are for feminism, if you support feminism, then you are betraying other men. But worst of all, I would think from your point of view, is that you are betraying yourself. And self-betrayal is okay if it begins and ends with you, but if it spreads to include other people, then I got a problem with it. Okay? So all you male supporters of feminism better think long and hard about what you're supporting and why you're supporting it. Eventually, you're going to have to answer to me or somebody like me or all of us. Men and women both, we are waking up, our numbers are growing, we are spreading across the earth as a social organism. I hate to say that we're turning into a collective, but, you know, if we have to be temporarily in the capacity of a collectivity, if that's what it takes to put this thing over the top, well, maybe that's what it takes. Anyway, that's feminism for you. Again, it's collective, and it's based upon the principle, the old Roman virtue of decimation. And then this explains, of course, why feminists hate women who break ranks with the sisterhood. For example, the recent Women Against Feminism movement. Boy, aren't the feminists losing their shit about that. Feminism calls itself the women's movement, and they are melding the class women with the class feminist. And they don't want you to think for a minute that those two things are indeed two things. They want you to think that they are one thing. Woman equals feminist, feminist equals woman. Once we divide women from feminism, then it's only a matter of time before feminism as a going concern goes right down the tubes, which is, of course, where we want it to go. Don't we want feminism to go down the tubes? Nick, is down the tubes where you want feminism to go?
Yes. Yeah, down the tubes. I don't think we can ever get rid of it entirely, though. Like, I don't think we'll ever entirely get rid of racism. But I think there'll always be little or extreme racism anyway. Like, I think there'll always be little pockets of insane race-based haters here and there. But
or insane anything-based haters, whatever, fill in the blanks.
Yeah, and feminism is going to be no different. Once we've made it incredibly unpopular, then they'll just retreat back to wherever little pockets of the woods, you know?
where they cluster, and in their little covens, in their little grottos.
You know, they might occasionally pop out and kill a guy or something, but
oh, Nick, don't be melodramatic now. People will think that you're crazy and point to you.
That was,
you know, as proof. I know, as proof that non-feminist people are all crazy. The feminists want everybody to think that non-feminist people are crazy or have a personality disorder or something, which is a pretty stupid statement on their part. Yes.
I mean, even a lot of feminists will admit to having behavioral disorders, and part of their thing is they want to get rid of the stigma around.
Well, it's the patriarchy that's inflicting the behavioral disorders on them. Of course, we know that.
Yeah. But no, I was just joking around. But I mean, it'll just be reduced to pockets of weirdos, little crazy cat ladies who get together. The stereotype of what feminists are now, or the removed harmless idea of them, is what they will become.
Well, they'll be like, they will no longer have the pretty smiling faces to put at the front of the parade, and they can't hide behind all this pretty smiling faces. And the true soul of feminism will be revealed when all the wrapping has been stripped away.
Yep. And when people are just no longer obligated to go along with their morality, and it's just that they will have, because they can't persuade anybody. That's for damn sure.
Well, it'll be when the emperor has no clothes. When somebody stands up and says, "Yeah, look at that. That dude is butt naked."
Well, we have been standing up and saying the emperor has no clothes.
We have been standing up and saying that, but I don't know if it's really sunk into the popular mind quite enough yet. But we're working on it.
Yeah, some people are listening. And you'd be surprised who is open-minded enough to hear it. Like, people are they're as soon as any kind of controversy is introduced, people from the middle mass find out that their friends are feminists, and they realize that there is a difference between being from the middle mass and being a feminist. Mm-hmm. And that's one step closer to being an activated non-feminist, because if you're not right inside feminism and you're looking at it from the outside, it looks insane if you have any critical reasoning skills. And a lot of people, once they see it, they can't unsee it, and they want to get active.
Well, it's just a question of getting people to see it, and not only getting people to see it, but getting people to see the same thing so that they're facing in the same direction, and then getting all of those people aware of each other, aware that they're not alone, and aware that they are reading from the same page. And otherwise, no one has the public square effect. I think the public square effect is what we're talking about here. Everybody knows that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything more you wanted to add there, Nick?
No. Just please go to Karen Strawn's YouTube channel. Check out the video about big plans for Walk a Mile. Spread it on social media far and wide. Please send it to the email address provided. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yes, everybody spread the word. Go look at that video. I like the video. Nick and Karen both have said some good things that are right on target. And go look at that video. And spread the word that something is going down in Edmonton in Churchill Square on, what was that again, Nick? The 23rd? October 23rd? September
23rd between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m.
11 a.m. It's a 2-hour thing where there's going to be men and boys, male persons of every size and shape, walking around, wobbling around in spike heel shoes, making fools of themselves, debasing themselves.
And in past years, they've been made fun of outright by the women on stage, and they laugh right along with it. So.
I haven't heard about that. When do the women on stage make fun of them? What stage do you mean?
Oh, yeah, at the Walk a Mile. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into it. Like, it's a huge sound stage, like you would expect for, like, a rock concert. And several media personalities, including our friend Ryan Jesperson, but mostly local female celebrities and feminine, women who work in various fields. It's put on by the YWCA.
The YWCA. Well, that's significantly not the YMCA. You say they're making fun of the men who are wobbling around in spike heel shoes.
Yeah, they tell them, "Oh, we know how hard it is, but keep it up," and and everybody has a good laugh, and then they.
And they are supposedly laughing with them.
Yeah,
in theory, as opposed to at them.
Yeah, the guys are getting it's like a roast, only nothing about it is funny. Like these guys are they're walking around, they're prostrating themselves in high heels, they're walking around, and they're making themselves look like fools for these women's enjoyment. And
but it's all in good fun, and women are around there, at least. The feminist-minded ones are laughing up their sleeves, and
feminist-minded.
They're all feminist-minded. Well, the ones at that event are pretty near all feminist-minded, to some degree. But there's a vast amount of female population, of course, that's nowhere near that event. So I don't want to generalize about that number. But anyway, James, I think we're getting close to that brick wall now, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
How much time do we have left?
2 minutes.
Whoa.
1 minute.
1 minute. Oh boy, we got to speed this up. I was going to say something about the MGTOW issue. It seems that some of the fellows in the MGTOW club are parading my head on a pike now, metaphorically speaking. We don't have time for that. It's 1 minute. So we'll have to take that up maybe in a future episode, maybe next episode. But anyway, I've got just enough time to say go to cfproject.blog.com to read the Poison Manifesto. I can't say that enough. The Poison Manifesto is the key to everything we talk about here on this radio program. It's the roadmap of the revolution. That's what gets everybody on the same page so we can all disagree on the same page. And I think, folks, it's time to wrap it up. This has been great. I've enjoyed being here. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And on that note, everybody remember, feminism is what we say it is. It's not what feminism says it is what we say it is. We are not feminist, and we say what feminism is. Feminism is what we say it is. Never forget that. Everybody, take care, and I'll see you again next week. Feminism is what we say it is. And we say that feminism is the problem. Putting the conversation where it needs to be, this is the Vanguard Report. Hello world, it's that time again. Welcome to episode number 16 of the Vanguard Report, your weekly internet radio show where we talk about nothing but feminism and nothing but what is at the vanguard of that issue. Hence our name, the Vanguard Report. Every revolution needs a vanguard. But what the hell, even Len of the Alberta Prairie, who hikes for miles and miles through the wheat fields, rocking a sandwich board and a John Deere baseball cap. Nick, speak to the people of the non-feminist sector.
Hey everyone, it's Nick Redding from Men's Rights Edmonton here. I want to remind everyone that there's going to be, Men's Rights Edmonton is going to have a presence at this year's Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event in Sir Winston Churchill Square at on September 23rd at 11 a.m. between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So I would like everybody, if you're in the Edmonton area, sorry, I'm tripping all over my tongue right now. If you're in the Edmonton area on September 23rd and you want to help out, just go down there with a camera. Please don't interact with anyone. Be very passive and just film what happens at this year's Walk a Mile event. And there's a video all about it on Karen Strawn's video channel or YouTube channel.
I recommend that video.
Yeah, it's called Big Plans for Walk a Mile 2013. So please go there, watch the video, share the video on social media, disseminate far and wide that Men's Rights Edmonton is going to be there at Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, Sir Winston Churchill Square, September 23rd, 1 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah, and knew that. And the non-feminist revolution is no exception. It too needs a vanguard, a cadre, a hardcore of experts with a cutting-edge analysis. And friends, that is us. We are the experts. We are the organic intellectuals, as Antonio Gramsci would say. This is the tip of the edge, folks. And if you want to know where it's at and where it's going, then congratulations. You have come to the right place. Remember that on the Vanguard report, we entertain 3 main questions, and everything we talk about revolves around those questions. 1, what is feminism? 2, where do we stand? 3, what is to be done? And something else, we take revolution seriously. Seriously. We seriously, but seriously, want to do feminism some damage. We want to let the oil out of feminists. Yes, that will be in Sir Winston Churchill Square in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I am sure that Sir Winston Churchill would be proud. I can hear him saying, "This is non-feminism's finest hour." And, as usual, I want everybody to go to cfproject.blog.com. Please don't write blogspot. That won't do you any good. It is blog.com. Once again, cfproject, one word, cfproject.blog.com. There you will find the Poison Manifesto, both for online reading and for download as a PDF file to read offline and to share with anybody who might be interested. On the last episode, episode 15, I read the entire thing out over the air due to a glitch. The script for that episode got trashed due to file corruption, was not able to read it. I had to come up with something fast, so I said, let's read the Poison Manifesto. Anyway, this week we are presenting you the show that we would have presented last week, largely reconstructed from memory and notes. All right. As usual, as common, we shall throw a couple of webisms crankcase. Boy, that sounds nonviolent now, doesn't it? And we know that there are 1,000 ways to make this happen. On this program, we share serious information and concepts. And sometimes we even propose actions. But mostly we just, to put it in a nutshell, we spread ideas. We're all about the spread of ideas. So, take notes, but don't just sit there and say, "Hey, that's cool," or "Hey, that's interesting," and then promptly forget about it. No, please don't waste our time or yours. Take on board what we are saying here and start putting it to work. Seriously. If you buy a new tool and you throw it in your tool drawer and there it sits forever, then it's absolutely no freaking use to anybody, is it? All right. I am your host, Fiedelbogen, and with me, as always, is my fellow host, Nick Redding, former social justice warrior, counter-feminist agitator general for the city of Edmonton, and a true son